Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Two Aliens podcast. This is your co host Naman. On the other side, I have my good friend and co host Nabil. Hey, Nabil, how are you doing?
I'm good, Naman. Nice to hear you again. What about you?
I'm doing well, man, but I don't know, my heart and my mind are not in the right place. I understand that it's the same case for you, considering what's going on in the world, especially in the United States with the whole George Floyd situation and all the protests.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a tough, I think, more than a month is going on, right?
Yeah, it's been
Or,
it's been around 3 weeks.
yeah, you can say then, yeah, it's almost because
Yeah.
I was thinking also of the previous cases as well before the George Floyd case. If you remember, there was this kid who also died um, while he was jogging on the road during the daytime. His name was Ahmad, African American kid.
Yeah, I remember, man. They shot him for basically jogging.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which is really shocking actually, and people are judging people on the basis of just color and assuming that maybe this person is a culprit without any thinking of the consequences.
I mean, that's been going on for quite some time. Both of us know that. And especially in the past decade, we got to see a lot of. Because in the past decade, there's been a media explosion, right? So now
Hmm.
you can basically record the police doing shit like this. And more often than not, it's the police instigating these type of events, these type of incidents, sorry. I mean,
Yeah,
every month or every
definitely.
other month you get to hear about something like this, and it's devastating that a particular color, a part-
Hmm.
basically a particular race, you can say, is being targeted to such an extent in a country that stands for free will, that stands for unity, that stands for diversity, and that has one of the most diverse group of people in the world.
Exactly, yeah. You can see Latinos over there, you can see Far East Asians over there, you can see Muslims over there, you can see whatever you can think of. You will find people over there of different caste, origin, name it. You can think of. Yeah, it's so seeing this kind of for me, it's like a racial profiling, and it's kind of unfair, targeting you know a set of people only, and not just in terms of you can say you know it's not just only about that, but even if you see in other places like in jobs, in education, you will find a huge disparity, a huge difference in terms of if you see the education, and if you see in the during the even the prison cells and all that stuff over there, you see the cops are like catching more and more African Americans, which I feel it. And sometimes there are even like scenarios where you hear that proper trial wasn't given, a proper time wasn't given for the investigation to be done, and then the judgment was passed quickly. So yeah.
Yeah, man,
s-
I've actually been binge watching these cases where people have been wrongfully convicted. And I gotta tell
mm,
you, if I watched around 20, 25 videos, and most of them were black people. Most of them
that's
were
a
black
lot.
people, and you can understand why it's the case. I mean, see, this is George Floyd is not the first, neither is he the last person to be a victim of police brutality. I mean, we have so many cases in the past: Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Tammy Rice,
Mm,
Philando Castile. Recent case like Rashard Brooks. So
exactly.
this has been happening for a very long time, and I remember showing you this video by New York Times that had an investigative look at what transpired, and
Mm,
you said that you couldn't bear watching the video, and I completely understand, man. We saw a person die on TV. We saw a person die in front of our eyes,
exactly, yeah.
and
Okay, for me,
which
okay, for me, it's like in the movies, it's fictional, so I can bear with it. The blood and the gore, all that stuff. Okay, I'm fine with that. But then you see something in real life, and it's shocking actually. And the worst part is that seeing someone in pain for such a prolonged period of time, like 8 to 10 minutes, I can't bear with it, man. So I just like not even halfway through, I just like I backed off. And but I read the news articles, I saw on the TV channels and stuff, news channels, and for me, I was speechless. Be it anyone over there, and the worst part, I read the transcript of his last words, which he was saying, and it's shocking that it was he was remembering his mom. He was because his mom had passed away 2 years back, and he was trying to remember him. Sorry, her, and that moment, you feel as if you can't do anything, and it's just you are powerless actually. And for me personally, I just felt like I couldn't bear watching it. So yeah, I backed off. I backed off. But
Man, I completely understand, and I'm with you. I had a very hard time watching it myself. I just watched it for the sake of, investigation, for the sake of having a well-informed opinion. The guy, Derek Chauvin, who had his knee on the neck of George Floyd, he actually had a record of complaints against him.
exactly, yeah. To be honest, George Floyd and Derek Chauvin, actually, they both were working in the same club. George was working as a bouncer, and Derek used to work as an off-duty security person. But some people are saying that their interaction was very, very low because their timings were different, shifts meaning. So yeah, some people they assume that it's not a personal, um, you know, a personal argument or issue or any some kind of a frustration from Derek. He took out on George or something. It was just the moment.
It's just that he's a bad cop. I mean, there's no mincing words here. He is one of the worst human
Mm.
beings you could find on earth. A person
Yeah,
is crying for help. They can't breathe, and he is not doing anything. He's being recorded by bystanders, and he's not doing anything. He has his knee on this guy's neck, and
exactly.
right until the paramedics arrived, he didn't really move. I mean, it wasn't it when he was lifeless. Basically, that's when he lifted his knee, and he died. I believe he passed away in the ambulance. Is that correct?
Actually, he already had passed before that,
Yeah,
and the
it
thing
was just
was,
confirmed
you
in
know,
the ambulance.
exactly. Yeah, the
Yeah.
thing is when you apply a lot of pressure for a long time, as you also yourself are a jiu-jitsu, uh, player, and you yourself also when you are training, your coach might be telling you like pressing on a neck for a prolonged period of time can cause obstruction or constriction to the airway passage.
Yeah.
So the exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen is not like it starts to have an issue over there, and then the next thing you know is that your brain is not able to get enough oxygen, and the first thing that happens is like dizziness and then vertigo, and then slowly you go into this blackout phase, and
Yeah, you
you see a
basically
per
lose first you lose consciousness, and
hmm,
if the person is still applying pressure,
hmm,
I mean, then
exactly.
you're gone.
Exactly, yeah. And
Yeah.
the clear sign also is that if the person is limp, is not moving at all, that's the clear cut sign also. Like you gotta back off.
Yeah. In
You
any
gotta.
case, I mean, this type of aggression is not warranted in the first place. I mean, how many of these cases are we going to see before there is a serious change in the policy? You get what I'm saying? So this is
Hmm,
not just the case in Minnesota. This happens all across the country. Happens all across
exactly.
the country. It's been happening since. I mean, okay, you ended slavery, but essentially, black people are still slaves. The way they're treated in society, the way they're treated by the police, the way they're treated when they're applying for a job, the way they're treated in the entertainment industry, and any industry for that matter.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I
So,
was telling you in terms of education. You perfectly put it right over there. Even in
yeah,
terms of, there was even a movie, a real life based movie of these NASA employees, the female employees, the African American employees, when they applied for the first time and were working in uh, a room full of white Americans, and the inequality they had to face. It was really shocking. And just I'll give you an example. Short one is that Those ladies, even to use a washroom, they had to exit the building and go to another place and walk so far, while there was a bathroom in the same floor in the same building over there, but they weren't allowed to use that. So an organization like NASA, where you assume, you feel actually that okay, people over there who are working over there, educated people, they are working for the future of America, for the world. They are thinking of them as explorers and mature people. But during that phase, during that time, those ladies, they faced a lot of issues and problems from their colleagues. So that was in the past, but now, even if you look at now around you, it's still going on. And it's kind of the thing for me which I fear is that this tradition is kept on going and going. Like, I feel it's the parents' fault for not educating their kids, for not teaching them about not to differentiate between the color.
Yeah, man, but it's not just that. It's the way the system is built essentially. Okay, in the NBA,
Mm.
majority of the players are black. Okay,
Uh-huh.
majority of the owners are white, and majority of the owners, a few of the owners have been caught using racial slurs against the very players that they're paying to play for
Are
them.
you serious?
Yeah, the owner of Los Angeles Clippers,
Mm.
Donald Sterling, I believe that's his name. I mean, he was recorded saying nigger and all these other racial slurs, derogatory terms to addressing his players. Basically, the people he is shaking hands with. He's taking them to parties. He's taking them to all these places, and
Mm.
right
I
behind
mean, like,
them.
if you have an issue with all the African Americans, then why are you bringing them into your team? Okay, you're bringing them into your team.
See, the
You
thing
gotta
is,
put them.
if you don't have black players in your team, then you don't have a good team. That's basically it. I mean, it's not that NBA basketball is a black sport,
Mm.
but it's a sport where black people excel a lot. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
they even made a movie actually on this thing. Back in the 90s, I guess it was. It was called "White Man Can't Jump." It's
White men
by
can jump.
Wesley.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's called the actor
Wesley
is Wesley
Snipes
Snipes.
and Woody Harrelson. I remember
Exactly,
it
yeah.
was a good movie. Yeah. Anyway,
And
see, the problem is that racism is deeply enrooted in all these industries and basically all the facets of the entire country. Now let's
I
go.
was. I'm
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
Just one last thing. Just one last thing. Also, I want to tell you that even I just want to add along with this that in the meat factory, and even in the dairy food products come, like warehouses and stuff all over those places and factories. Basically, the essential food item stuff. Even the owners are bringing in more and more African Americans and Latinos to work in the factory, especially during this time. I mean, like the coronavirus, and the employees were complaining that there is no social distancing over there. There is no proper ventilation over there, and more and more African Americans who were working in those places were getting infected because of the issue. And comparatively, the other staff, like, there was racial profiling going on also over there. So
Yeah,
just I just wanted to add
I
also.
actually saw this. I actually saw this last week, I believe. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Most of the white employees in in the meat industry, they were given work from home. Oh, sorry, they were given leaves, whereas the
Mm,
Latinos and the blacks, they were asked to come to work in unsanitary conditions.
exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
So
this again. It's not that it's something new that's happening, but it's been happening for a very long time. The difference here is, I think people are frustrated to the point that the people don't give a shit anymore. The streets don't give a shit anymore. They're outside, they're protesting, they're like, fuck this police brutality, fuck this racial profiling. You know, this has happened for far too long. And if there was a time to take some action and change the
mm,
legislation and change the way that police officers are being hired, this would be the best time. Many people are saying that they should defund the police. What's your take on that?
Actually, I'll be honest with you. I couldn't review that on that case because I was on to something else, and I was focusing on the looting and the damaging also along with the protest which was going on. Because if you remember, um, a scenario, situation happened over there during the protest was there were some peaceful protesters, and then there were some group of people who were trying to create chaos. So the government officials were saying that they gotta like find out who these people are who are creating, breaking stuff and looting things and stuff, because they feel that they are not the ones who live in that city. They're coming from the outside and creating this anarchy. So I was following up, and I was listening to the interviews of people, and for me, yeah, I also kind of felt shocked because Numan, the thing is that, you know when peaceful protesters are going outside, they have a message, they have a purpose, to send a message to the government officials, to the people on the top, that hey, we want to change, we are frustrated, and we want you to change the rule and stuff. But then there are some few, a-holes who come along the way, and then they ruin everything. They ruin the message, and then these, white government officials, white people over there on the top, they are like, okay, fine, these people, what we say, we are right, that they are supposed to be in prison, and look at them, they are looting, they are breaking stuff, they are damaging property, they deserve to be in prison. And this kind of Numan damages, or the message, it tarnishes the purpose of going for the peaceful protest.
Yeah, but
So
again, man, that's the issue of the media. That's purely the issue of the media. If you have a million people protesting, okay, and if 2,000 people out of a fucking million
mm,
are doing these things, they don't represent that population. It's a very small part of that population. And man, again, as I said, people are really frustrated with the way the things are in the country. I mean, it's reached. I think they're at a tipping point. They're at a breaking point. Okay, they realize that this has been. I mean, this will go on. This will go on, and they saw this video of a person. What was the case? Basically, what was the case? They said that he had a forged bill or something, right? That
exactly, like
yeah.
not even actually that, they were saying the shopkeeper had an issue of 20 bill,
And by
which
the
was
way,
like a
the
fake thingy.
shopkeeper was an Arab.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That's really okay. But to be honest, I don't think the shopkeeper wanted this kind of situation to happen
Obviously,
so
they
to the
they didn't
extreme.
want any kind. They didn't want this type of situation. But you have to understand, the shopkeepers were present there. Okay, they could have done something. Okay, they were
Exactly.
they were present there. They probably saw the whole thing. They could have done something. They should have stepped up. That's the other thing, man. As far as the atrocities are happening with those people and not our people, okay, I mean, it's not really a concern. That's the type of
Exactly. Yeah.
mentality most Asians, most South Asians, most
Yeah.
Arabs, most people who immigrate from these countries to the US have. They're like, okay, at least it's not happening to us, so I mean, we're
Yeah.
fine. So we'll turn a
You know.
blind eye. This is
Uh,
not the time to turn a blind eye. This is the time to take action. This is the time to support your brothers, because if this is happening to them,
it can happen to us also, to the rest of
yeah,
the people.
exactly.
I mean, I want to add this thing also because I was looking at the images, I was looking at the videos of the protest, and usually I was seeing, okay, obviously African Americans were on the street, they were protesting, but along with them also I saw some uh, white people also were there. They were also carrying placards with them and peacefully protesting and stuff. But then I didn't rarely I saw Far East Asians. I rarely saw Arabs. I rarely saw like South Americans joining in and walking on the road with them, because I feel like, as you're saying absolutely right, Numan, that this is the best chance to represent not just the African Americans but yourselves also, because this thing can happen right now, and even before that it was happening to the African Americans, but in the future or in the present it can happen to you as well, to an Arab, basically to a Muslim guy, to a Latino,
Well, it's
or
been happening to Muslims in the US for a very long time, Nabil. I
no,
think
no.
that's the reason
See,
why
the thing
Muslims
is,
don't get involved. They're like, This is not our shit to deal with. Indians, Chinese, Koreans, Japanese, all these other people, they're not getting involved because they're like, we came here to better our lives. We don't want to get into this shit. You should get into
Yeah,
this shit, man. I mean, who knows? Maybe tomorrow your kid or someone you love is going through something like this,
absolutely, absolutely.
and
I
this
agree
is
with you on
happening
that.
to people of your country. So why are you not taking any action? I mean, this is the time to raise your voice and to say, we do not, because being silent is being complacent. That's how it is. I mean, if you're silent about these things, if you saw this video and you're someone living in the US and you're not taking action, or you're not changing your mindset at least, okay, then you're being complacent, which is not really a good sign.
Yeah. And I also want to add that if this thing can happen to you, to your family member, to anyone whom you love, and then before this thing happened, you were not supporting others, and then when it befalls upon you, then you go outside, you plead the people to support you, but then they are like, you know what, you didn't help us out during our tough time. How can we do that to you as well? So they're gonna back off, and then don't expect that to say that hey, you didn't help me out at this time, you didn't do this for me. Don't say that, because why? Because you did not yourself also contribute in that thing. And yeah, as I said before, this can happen to anyone, like so this is, as Noman you are saying also, this is the best chance, not just to like go out on the street and represent the African Americans, but you're representing your people also as well. And if you just right now, if you don't make a move, there are going to be consequences, and police guys, whoever the government official guys, are going to mess you up more and more, the rich fellas, and they're going to get out of this.
Absolutely true, man. And I mean, I feel for the African American community. I completely understand their sentiment. They're hurting. They've been hurting for decades, centuries now. I mean, can't even call it decades, man. It's been centuries since they've been suffering
Yeah,
from all these things. And essentially, Nabil, this is what it comes down to, and this is where I feel black people have probably the most patience out of any color in the world. Okay, this has been going on with them for over a century,
yeah,
right?
it is.
It has been going on with them over a century. What are they protesting for? They're protesting for the police to treat them equally. I mean, after all this shit that's happened, I saw a video a few days ago, Nabil,
Yeah,
and this woman said that you should be thankful that black people are asking for equal rights. Sorry, that black people are asking for justice. They're not asking for revenge. And that really moved me a lot, because think about it, man. I mean, this is systematic racism and racial profiling of the highest level, when a certain group of people are being targeted on such a large scale.
exactly. Yeah, and
And their reaction to it is, give us equal rights, just treat us equally. That's it.
exactly, exactly. Like I don't want to hear the news of like some cop is just randomly stopping for no reason, an African American couple, and then telling the guy like, hey, you know what, hey, just you didn't, the guy didn't break any rules or something, and why are you stopping the person for? He's wearing a seat belt, his kid is in the back, everything is fine, everything is good, but then for no apparent reason you're just catching the guy and giving a fine or something, and mistreating the person. That's so unfair. And I hope, like, I hope
Man,
that.
black people have been harassed for so much shit. Like, one cop stopped a black guy because he was walking on a lawn. One cop stopped a one cop really literally brought out guns and brought out his whole crew.
Hmm.
Why? Because this African American dude is picking up garbage. Is
Hmm.
He's picking up garbage? He's cleaning his area. He's cleaning his neighborhood.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and the cop came and he's asking for his ID and he's asking where you live, and he told him where he lives, and then he's being aggressive about it. Then he brings in the whole uh,
His team.
SEAL Team 6. I'm just joking, but you get the point. He brings in
Yeah.
the whole SWAT team, and it's a whole lot of mess for no reason whatsoever. I mean, if I saw someone picking garbage in their neighborhood, I'd be like, that's a good citizen.
Exactly.
And this cop was treating him like, he was committing a crime.
Man, that's, I don't know what's wrong with this mind of this copper, because that's what I'm telling you, man.
Man,
You
that's
have
the
to.
thing. It's not just the mindset of one cop. This is something is wrong with the way the police are being hired. I don't think the police should be defunded. Defunding the police wouldn't be a good thing because you need the police.
Exactly,
But
yeah.
you need good cops. You don't need bad cops. I think the funds should be allocated in a way that, people who have a record, people who are not, uh, people. See, being a cop in many cases, means being the decider of life or death.
Exactly, yeah.
If that person cannot make good decisions, that person cannot be a good cop, then that person should not have a gun. As simple as that.
Exactly. I also want to add one more incident similar to this one, because you told me about, a cop bringing his team and, trying to mess up this guy. This another story which I saw was about this kid who had a driving license, a legal driving license. He was above 18, and accidentally he crossed the red signal. The next thing you know is like the cop, he came behind him, and the kid, like, you already have this fear of cops, because the first thing a cop does is he takes out his gun instead of asking him his papers. So this kid got freaked out. He ended up going to his grandmother's home, and he walked towards the porch, and the next thing you know is that the grandmother also came outside because she saw the cops, and this cop, and as I was just saying that, the cop always takes out their gun first. Next thing you know is the cop is like telling the kid, hey, you know what, put your head down on the grass. And the kid was like, why are you pointing the gun at me? You can just talk with me in a civilized manner. Even the grandmother came outside, and she was like, this is not the right way to catch someone. If someone made a mistake, you got to put a fine on the kid. That's it. And tell him, hey, go to the station and pay up and everything, and that's it. Why are you pointing a gun? Why are you taking out the gun and putting it on the kid? And the next thing you know is the cop, he calls up on the some his team members from the backup thingy, and they push the kid on the ground. And the grandmother, she kind of, till the last, like, that situation, like, you want to save your grandson, your child, till the last, like, attempt. So she falls above the, like, above the kid, and she's like backing off and telling them not to put the handcuffs on the kid. But then they take the kid by force, put the kid in the back of the car, and then they take him to jail. But just for one kid who's just like 18, 19 years old, is like shocking. You're seeing five or 4 or 5 guys on top of the kid. That's so messed up.
That's fucked up, man. That's fucked up. Really breaks my heart, man. I mean, that kid, he'll have a fear of cops his entire life, right? And he'll
Exactly.
have, yeah, and he'll have issues. Let's say if that kid gets involved in a situation where he has no other choice, but he has to seek the help of law enforcement. He'll be very judgmental. He will probably not be very excited about those prospects.
Exactly. And the worst part also is that once these people, they come out from the prison, it becomes harder for them to get a job and to get back to their normal lives, because
Exactly.
the record is there. And even if the record is just of, I don't know, a false claim, and you end up in prison, and then when you come outside, even a small job, daily wage worker job, is hard to get then. So yeah, it's tough on these people. And I have to make a request to these government official guys. Like, you gotta evaluate. You gotta see the process of how you're hiring these cops. You gotta do this mental evaluation of these cops. You gotta check their records of how these people are living their lives. Then only you assign them, and then especially they have to go through vigorous training, hardcore training of passing and getting a gun and using it without any thoughts. That should not be happening.
That should not be happening anywhere, man. I completely agree with you here. Another thing, some of the celebrities, they recorded a video, I take responsibility. Like, what the fuck are you taking responsibility of? Like, seriously, man, how delusional can you be? Well, when the coronavirus, when the
Hmm.
coronavirus pandemic started,
Yeah.
Gal Gadot and many other celebrities, they recorded "Imagine" by John Lennon.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that song. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I was like, man, what type of bubble are these people living in? Just just shut up. If you want to donate, donate. Don't put out shit like this that people are going to hate.
They're trying to.
Like,
They're trying.
imagine there is no country and imagine there is no possession. Yeah, right. Easy to say living in a fucking huge mansion while people are losing their jobs.
Exactly. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that video, like, I take responsibility. What are you taking responsibility of? Why are you speaking out now so that you're getting some PR, you're getting some good press?
some sympathy.
Why? Yeah, exactly. I mean, where were you when Michael Brown died? Where were you when Glenn Rice died? Where were you when Philando Castile died? I mean, for sure, some celebrities are doing a lot to help out civil rights groups, and they're donating to charities and they're helping out these families.
Hmm.
They're doing a lot,
Yeah.
but every now and then an incident like this happens. They feel that they have to record a video, and okay, now we've recorded a video, all is good in the world, our conscience is now clean, and all the issues of the world have been solved. No, dummy. I mean, if you wanna do something on the fucking streets. Otherwise, just shut up and do what you're good at,
Absolutely right. I was
acting.
going the same. I was telling you, the going to tell you the same thing, that these people, these Instagram people, these celebrities on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever you think of, they gotta come on the street. They gotta walk along with these peaceful protesters. They gotta make a voice, because these people have a huge fan following. First of all, people listen to them, and if they're over there, then definitely even the cops. I'm assuming that even the cops who are on the opposite side, they won't fire, because they have these coppers, they themselves, they watch movies, they themselves watch these television shows, and their families watch television shows. They're gonna be like, okay, there is Robert Downing, Brad Pitt on the road protesting. Back off, we don't want to fire this guy. If you fire this guy, my colleague might get pissed off, my superior might get pissed off, I might lose my job. So yeah, but the thing is, man, these people
Yeah,
on
but see again,
these
Nabil,
people.
that's the wrong way of thinking.
No, no,
That's the complete wrong way of thinking, because if you're going to stop firing because there's a famous person in the crowd, I mean, that's very hypocritical in my opinion. Because why are you firing in the first place? Why are you only stopping? Why are you only not taking action? When there's a camera in your face or when a famous person is involved.
man, yeah,
You get what I'm saying
yeah,
here?
I get you, yeah. But the thing
Yeah.
is, as I was telling you also about the celebrities, yeah, I would like, you're absolutely right, Nawan, that these things, we're not supposed to be firing at those people. Maybe the only
And man,
person,
the worst
maybe.
part is, what they're firing? They're throwing tear gas. Tear gas, by the way, it's banned in war. Using tear gas in war is a war crime.
Okay, I didn't know about that,
And
because me myself also, when I was in I was in one of the Southeast Asian countries, on vacation, and you won't believe this. I actually, I got involved in a protest also, which I'll tell you after the podcast. But yeah, the thing was, I was in the protest, and this thing was happening peacefully, and then the cops came, and then they started shooting these tear gases and stuff. So I didn't know about this, that it's against the law that to use tear gas.
tear gas, according to the United Nations, it's banned. Tear gas should not be used anywhere. I mean, in war, using tear gas is a crime. In war, man, in war. And here people are using, the police is using tear gas. The police is so heavily militarized that they have weapons. I mean, the only thing that they don't have at this point is missiles and nuclear power.
Yeah, man. And
Yeah.
before, back in the like, before, whenever there used to be a protest, these you see the reporters on the streets, and they used to be they still wear jackets, which has the president on them. But now, when this George Floyd incident happened, and the press is also involved, taking pictures, the photographers on the street, there are people who are taking interviews and reporters basically. So yeah, these people are also getting targeted. There was this lady, she was on the street with his cameraman crew, and the next thing you know is that, like, literally you can see in the video that the cop guy is directly pointing towards the cameraman and the lady is panicking, and she's shouting at the cop that, hey, we are press, and she's showing the jacket to the guy, but still he fires towards them. So it's kind of messed up. Now even those there was even a photographer, and he had the badge on with him, and then he was telling them, the photograph, like the cops, like, hey, don't shoot me, I'm just taking pictures and stuff. But then the cop is like, back off. And he's backing off, man, and he's backing off. The next thing you know is that they're still like, the cop is coming after him, and then he pushes him down on the road, and then he gets injured, yeah. And then these guys, I don't understand what's going on in their mind, these cops, like,
Yeah,
you.
I mean they pushed an old guy, man, and they pushed an old guy. His head hit the excuse me.
Yeah.
They pushed an old person. His head hit the footpath, and it fucking bounced.
Shit.
He
Yeah,
was
yeah.
bleeding. He was bleeding profusely.
Oof.
And the cops were claiming that this guy fell. It only came to light when the video was leaked, and it was actually a cop who pushed that guy.
Oof. Man, did he survive?
I don't think he did. I don't remember that part, but I did see the video.
Damn, man, that's because the payment is hard, man. And if you end up hitting your head over there, most probably you either start having internal bleeding, you end up, God forbid, you end up even comatose state, and then it can turn out to be worse. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what's the policy behind these guys. Like, what's the chief telling them? Hey, you go outside, do whatever you want to do, shoot wherever you want to shoot, and shoot to whom you want to shoot. I mean, this is, I don't know what's
See,
going
this
on.
is what systemic racism is called, man. It's part of the system. Police brutality, aggression against minors, aggression against protesters. This is part of the entire system. This comes
Hmm.
from the top all the way to the bottom. So if your chief is doing shit like this, okay, this is going to encourage you to do more shit
Hmm.
because you're out on the street, you're policing the people. You get my point? So it's coming
Yeah.
it's coming all the way from the top, man.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
you also mentioned minors, and there have been cases also in middle school and high schools where, like, especially in middle school, there were little kids. I mean, 10 years below that years old. I mean, this kid is like, I don't know, he makes a small mistake, even the cops show up. I don't know if you have read or not. Like, there were some 2 3 incidents in the, like, 5 10 years. They were like, the little kids were walking outside the school into the cop car with their hands tied up with handcuffs. So, which was very shocking. I mean, he's just a kid,
That's fucked up, man.
Exactly, and it's just a kid. Kids, they make mistakes, they fight, but the next thing you know is the next moment they are playing again. It's pointless. I mean, and if a kid makes a mistake, okay, fine, you scold them, you tell them, okay, this is wrong, don't do this again. The kids, they are immature, they don't know what's going on around them, they don't know what's right and wrong. It's your responsibility to teach them. But then if you something like this happens, it leaves a scar on their mind forever. And it's
I think I remember this incident, Nabil. I think it was the school that called the police on the kid.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, that's fucked up, man. I mean,
It's too extreme.
imagine what the parent would have been feeling. I mean, they would be devastated knowing that their kid is going to a school where the
Hmm.
school is against that kid.
Exactly. I mean, the kid will not want to go to school again. That same school or any school,
Exactly.
any school. He will not want to study. He will not want to focus on anything. He will be mentally shocked. He won't. It's going to be very very hard for the kid to recover from that. Even though people might say, he's young. It's fine. He's gonna be, he'll get over it. But nah, some things in a young age, when it happens to you, it sticks in your mind forever. It doesn't go away that easily. And some
Completely agree, man.
there are some kids who have been through worse, that they have to end up in rehab, and that's the worst part. Like, it takes, I don't know, months or years for them to recover from that phase. So yeah, it's these people, they have to, I don't know, even the people who are receiving the calls from the school, the person on the other end of the receiving end is just like, you know what, to the principal or to the headmaster, he's going to be telling them, hey, you know what, this is your matter within the school, you got to solve this by yourself. We don't want to like come over there and put a handcuff on a kid, especially there are minors, juvenile kids. It's shocking when I see this kind of situations on television, that some kid who is so young, who's not mentally mature, he doesn't know anything about, and then you're taking him outside, you're dragging the kid into the cop car with handcuffs. So yeah, these people have to change their policy. They have to think of how and what kind of people they are hiring in their force.
Absolutely devastating, man. I mean, our hearts go out to all the black people who have lost their lives due to police brutality. Um, to any of our black friends or anyone basically listening to this podcast, if they want to use this platform to voice their opinions, or to raise their voice or to share their experiences, we will be happy to have them with us. And this has been a pretty dark episode. This has been a very heavy episode for the both of us, Nabil.
Yeah,
And but that's the reality. We speak on a lot of things. We speak on UFC, conspiracy theories, so much stuff. We had to speak on this as well. I mean, this was something I had to get off my chest for a long time. I believe the same was the case for you.
exactly. Like,
And
we can't just pretend that, everything is fine and everything is jolly and fun. We can't make videos on this, happy moments and all that stuff. We gotta face the reality also. We gotta bust the bubble and look outside. Hey, you know what? People are facing hardships, issues with the coronavirus, with the racial profiling and all that stuff. You gotta give attention to those people also as well. And as Numan was saying, this is a platform where you can also approach us and you can tell us about your cases and mishaps, whatever you've been through. Let us know in the comment section, and we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna discuss it in our episode. Raise the voice. I feel that it's our responsibility, as we have made this channel. I feel that it's our responsibility to talk about this, to push this information, not just to one community but to all the people around the world. Let them know what unfairness is going on, so that not just us but the future generation can know what is right and wrong. And hopefully through us, through our medium, we can educate people and tell them what is right and wrong as well. That's
very well said, brother. Thank you everyone for tuning in. This has been this is let's call it a wrap, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.
Goodbye, folks.